Next one we're going to run is a dynamic search ad. So we're going to go build our new campaign here. Start without a goal guidance. And we're going to use search. Skip this part here. Building a new campaign, you're going to call it, DSA or, dynamic search ad. Might be easier. Again, I always exclude display. And in the setting start date campaign, this is right here, the dynamic search ad setting. This is where we're going to need to go. So skip the start date, skip the URL options, click on the dynamic search ads. This is where you're going to enter in the domain of your website. So grab the, how do I describe the browser version of your website? So it has the HTTP and all the good stuff in there. Don't remember if this is the one that takes this or not. It's always different. Let's see here. Okay, it looks like it might work. I don't know exactly. Sometimes I forget between all of Google's ads and analytics and GTM. Sometimes you don't need that there. I'm going to put that there for now. Select the language. Yep, English. Select the targeting source. Use Google's index on my site. This is more advanced if you have a feed set up that you can send into Google of specific pages. You can do that. We're going to do that anyway, so you can simply ignore that from here. So we're just going to use Google's index of my site. This is what Googlebot crawls. Now, for our newer websites that have less than a month in uptime, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Google scans websites. That uses the Google Search Console tool, Googlebot, to scan the website and interpret what your website is. So if you have a brand new site that's just launched last week, Google may not have crawled it yet. So this may not run yet. But if you have more than usually about a month worth of uptime on your website, Google index of your site is going to be good. So use that targeting source. Ad schedule, again, we're going to run all day. Choose the right locations. Make sure to not choose incorrect countries. This one here is going to be all languages. Because Google's going to be scanning your website, the scanning of your website is going to be native to a language. So if you have English only on your website, you're going to have English speaking keywords. So we don't have to target English. The reason why I do this is, Google's come out and said, yeah, we've kind of overcome this issue on our own. I don't know how much I trust that. But if someone has a default browser setting to Spanish and they're searching in English, this means if it's set to English, I'm going to exclude those people. Google's going to say, yeah, they're searching in English-speaking keywords, but they're not English speakers. Their browser settings is set to Spanish. So don't show your ad, even though they're in your perfect target location and searching exactly what you have to offer. So that's why I don't let Google accidentally push away people that are searching English, even regardless of what the browser setting says. Audiences, again, we're going to add an RLSA here, but we're not going to do that just yet. Budget, this one can be good. I would give this a really good chance. This is going to help smart shopping a ton because you're going to be sending a lot of really good relevant traffic to your site that smart shopping is going to try to remarket to, and dynamic remarketing is going to try to remarket to all the people that smart shopping couldn't remarket to or didn't remarket to. So this one, I would say, 30, 40, 50, keep it on the higher side, whatever you can afford to spend for a long period of time, 90 days at least. But this is where this is going to be an ever learning type of campaign. This one is going to learn over time. And you're going to be able to optimize it. You're going to be able to change dynamic ad targets. You're going to be able to start to exclude something. You're going to be able to set some pretty good visit budgets. Also, this one, we're going to be using target CPA. And so you need to have enough budget for target CPA to work. You can't really use target CPA if you're setting like $5 and $10 budgets. It's not going to have enough conversions to optimize. Google needs to see optimizations first. Or sorry, they need to see conversions before they can start to optimize. So spend a good amount of money on this because this could be a really, really powerful campaign. So you'll see here, our recommended target CPA is 530. Here's what's interesting. I believe this. We actually paused our search campaigns for YouTube campaigns for some time. We spent like 10 grand a month on YouTube campaigns just for growing our channel. And so our target CPA spent a lot of money, didn't have a lot of quote unquote conversions. So Google thinks our CPAs really skyrocketed. I just turned it on 2 days ago as we're back down to like $200 CPAs. But here's what's interesting. Even though this is painful to see, because I know my target CPA is about half, do it anyway. Use the recommended target CPA that Google gives you. The reason why you do this is because Google is going to say, hey, for our most expansive reach to most amount of relevancy, we think that your conversions are going to come in at 530. They may just come in at, you know, $20. It may come in at $20 forever. My CPA might still be set to 530. What this is doing is it's placing a restriction on your campaign. I think we have a question here.
I'm not.
Google. It doesn't happen to everyone. It's usually when you have enough conversion data. So my campaign, obviously, this one's been running for years. Not everyone here, especially if it's more in the beginning, is going to get a recommendation. But again, for target CPA, for e-commerce, if you're not running, we're going to have to set it high and then work our way down. So you might set your target CPA at 100. It doesn't mean that you're going to get $100 cost per sales. It just means that if you set that to 20 instead of 100 in the beginning, Google's going to say, "Oh, I gotta really start honing in and target and trickle in the spend until I understand it." It restricts the campaign. How do you decide a TCPA for brand new store launch? Well, look at what your average product is, average product price. If you have products between 30 and 100, your average product price, let's say, is 62. If you would say, if I only sold one item, that's a $62 sale. How much would I pay for that $62 sale? If you have 300%, or if you have 500% profit margin, you can pay $20 for that easy. If you have 15% margins, you're gonna have to start lower, like it down into 10. But here's where a good SOP is. This is in the beginning. If you set a target CPA on what you need, your campaign may not run because it doesn't know how to get there. It's like starting a campaign with a high ROAS goal. It may not run. It doesn't know what it needs to get there. So don't set a too strict of restriction, because all you're going to do is tell Google, "Can you get me $10 sales?" I don't know. I can't afford a $5 click right now. I don't think it's going to work. Google's just not going to run. Start high, work your way down. I'll give you a really good example. Here's something that I think is going to be helpful for everyone to see. I don't know why this is working. Here we go. That same company. My DSA campaign here has got a 25% conversion rate with $97 leads. It's limited by budget. And that $330, if I just look at like the last 7 days here, you can see here that my time and day, my 330 has been going, 394, 461, 438, and then it had to back down because it overshot the budget. So it says, "Hey, I'm overshooting that budget and I'm limited. Please give me, $680 a day." Great, I have a 28% conversion rate this last week. My cost per conversion is 93, but check this out. I have to go to change history because I just made the change yesterday. But let me just see here. Yeah, I was 105. I just changed it to 85 yesterday. I was 105 for the last 7 days, except for that one last day. So $105 CPA, and it says, yeah, I'm getting $93 leads, plus I'm limited. I can spend more. So just because I said 105 doesn't mean I'm going to get like 106, 108. It did better than that with amazing results. And so that's where you're okay. So don't think, "Oh crap, if I set 530, I'm gonna get 530. If I set 100, I'm gonna get 100. All you're doing is not restricting it in the beginning. It's a good thing to know. Is a lot of times people say, "Yeah, I tried this, it didn't run." That's because Google's not gonna know to get you $5 cost per sales for the first click. You need to give it room to expand, then bring it in and start reducing the target CPA like I'm doing that other campaign. I had $105 CPA, I'm getting $93, 30% conversion rates. Awesome. What if I bring that down to $85? Would my traffic start to die? Maybe. That's what I'm testing. So set it to what it is recommended if you can. And if you don't know, set it to pretty much what it might be a break-even number for you, or overshoot it. You might lose money in the beginning, but all you're doing is allowing it to run. That's all you're doing. Conversions, again, that's fine with the ad rotation conversions. We already talked about site links and extensions. For DSA, if you want calls, grab calls. If not, don't worry about it. But just use your discretion there. Case studies about certified partner, and oh, that's old. Geez, we have so many in here that I gotta get rid of. I haven't used these in forever. Cool, request a demo, that'll just work. Save and continue. Yep, that's what it was. There we go. You need to have just the .com. I don't like when Google does that. They need to standardize that. All right. Now, here it is. When you set up an ad group, is automatically, since we added our URL there, it's automatically going to choose dynamic. It's not going to be standard. It's going to say, okay, now it's a DSA. So dynamic ad group contains only dynamic search ads. This is your DSA campaign. Inside a DSA campaign, I like to start with one ad group first, because I'm going to choose the specific pages that I want. That's going to be important. And I'll share with you what I mean, how we set up the specific pages. But I'm going to have, as an example, for us here, for e-commerce, your ad group name, the first one should be all web pages. All web pages at the beginning. Now, if you have a blog, I'm going to show you how to change those out. But what you want to do is you want to give this every product page. You might have 600 SKUs. This is going to scan all 600 SKUs. And it's going to send traffic to all 600 directly right to that product page. It's going to bypass the home page. Someone is looking for something. If you have page number 437, that SKU is most relevant, it's going to show page 437 as an ad and bring them right to that page. So it's going to match the perfect product that matches the search term for that person on your site. It's going to match it right to that product page. So, and I'm going to share with you a couple things here.
John, quick question from Neha. Yeah. I'm getting an error that won't let me continue. It says my domain is invalid.
Yeah, use just the domain name and .com. Don't have a / at the end. Don't use the HTTPS. Just use like abc.com and no other special characters. Try that. Is that stop sharing here for a second.
Do we skip Michael's question? Can target ROAS be used if products are priced all over the place?
Yeah, you can. You can use target ROAS. Now, it depends on the Michael, what was the price variances you have? What's the scale? What's your lowest and what's your highest?
Like 99 cents to like $2,500. That's
right. Yeah, for you specifically, you could try target ROAS. The problem is how long has your Google Ads campaign been running?
Well, no, we only have the brand campaign, but we have like 12 years of historical data.
Okay. So you have conversion value already.
Yeah, we have a lot of conversion data.
Then you're good with ROAS. Starting off, ROAS is almost impossible to find out. Google can identify how much conversion costs. So when you're starting off, CPA is usually the more friendly one, just because ROAS is going to say, well, is that a $2 sale or is that a $75 sale? I don't know. I know that my cart value needs to be higher. So by using target CPA in the beginning, it's a really good way to take your average cart value divided by your target CPA. That's what gives you ROAS. I don't know what your average cart value is going to be. If your average cart value is higher, I would use target CPA. If your average cart value is lower, I would use ROAS, but not start as aggressively as ROAS, because if you have an average cart value of, let's say, $8 and you need 200%, it's not going to try to even get a click. But I think I have a different strategy for you specifically that I'll go over here.
All right, perfect.
Yep. Let me go here.
That fixed for Neha, by the way.
That worked, Neha? Yay. Cool. Now, Google's going to say, here's all web pages, and it's going to give you categories that it believes. Landing pages from your standard ad groups, and you can preview it. Says, hey, here's the page that we're going to be sending it to. This is kind of automatically given to you. A Google search that triggers your ad, Google Ads leads generation campaign. These are good here. In the beginning, I don't want to necessarily give Google categorical control, because this is an example that, right here, pickle graphics. No, I don't want that. Now it's because it scanned our blog, the Me Solutions, a partner of Design Pickle, and it says, I'm not sure if this is our blog, but we have a page on here that says, yeah, this is what's going to show up. But I don't want to do that just yet. What I want to do specifically is I want to find my product pages. Now, majority of you are on Shopify, not everyone is, but a lot of times you're going to have something in the domain that is going to be indicative of, this is not a blog, this is a product page, this is a collections page. Can someone, just as an example, can someone drop in their website? How did you get picographic with the PPC agency? It's because we have a page on our website of Design Pick because we've used them. for people looking for graphics. So we recommend going to hire Design Pickle. Now, here's the bad part, or not a bad part. Here's the good part about that is because it's DSA, it's scanned on my web pages, but I'm going to use all web pages with the restriction. So, and that's what I want to teach you guys. But anybody have a website that I can just use? Just drop anybody's, we go Underdog Games. Perfect. Pull this back up. So Underdog Games here, this is the page. Now, if I click shop here, so you see how you have collections? Now what happens, and this is what everyone has to do. This one, it takes a little bit of development, but this is how you set up the proper DSA campaign. And I don't have a, oh, everyone just grab your collections page, because someone's gonna say, well, I don't have a collections page. What you wanna look at is find common denominators. So I see / collections, all products, that shows all products. Now, if I click into this one, is it still collections? Okay, perfect, it is collections. So individual product pages has the word collections in it. My pages of all my products have the word collections in it. Does my blog have collections in it? No. Cool. We have to remember this. But what you want to look at is you want to look at your site structure, and you want to identify what is a common denominator for your site structure. Well, collections seems to be pages. Okay, that's good. This is not collections. Is about collections? No. Refer and earn, is that about? Is that okay? That goes out to a different URL. That's good. So the only time that any of my products are shown is when, okay, so here products, that's different. So / products. Now, what else is in here is that's collections. But if I go right to trekking, it's products. What if I go from trekking the world? Now, what if I look at trekking the world? Is that case products? So they're identical. So that's okay. So what I found is that the / collections is going to be the common denominator. This is going to be all my products is / collections. Now, what I want to do is when I go back into Google Ads, I said specific web pages. I'm going to create rules of where I want this to scan. And then I'm also going to do a different version of this rule as well, and you'll see this. So use exact rules. What you can say is enter URLs to target. This here, you'd have to put every single URL specifically. So if you had 600 SKUs, you're doing this 600 times. You could do that. That's completely fine. Or you can create a rule, which means the URL contains this here. If the URL contains / collections, that means that any time, and just click add, and you'll see it over here. That means that anytime this is shown here, it's okay for Google to crawl it. Does collection show up in my blog? No. So I don't want Google to crawl this page, because I don't want to show up for, road trip games. I don't necessarily want to show up for that yet. I might not want to show up for free monkey jokes. People looking for funny monkey jokes will show up, just like how we showed up for pickle. You're going to get, everything's going to be taken out of context. Remember, Google's a machine. It's going to look at coloring page and say, cool, coloring page. That's what you might get 1 billion searches a day for coloring pages. And that's going to suck up all of your ad spend. That's the only thing that's going to show, because you have $30 a day and you had 15 clicks for $2 a click for coloring pages. And no one was ever even introduced to your product because they sent all right to your blog. You're paying now traffic to your blog. Google's going to say coloring page. So I'm looking for coloring page. This is pretty much the page that people need to see. And Google's going to send them right to this page. Bypass your homepage, bypass your product pages. They're going to go right to this page. You're going to pay for that traffic. So be very careful about where you let Google go. So right here, collections, that was important. The one other thing that I noticed, though, is that when I went to the page specifically, I saw products. Now, I know this because this is what we do for a living, and this is going to be kind of an advanced knowledge, is Google might scan your product pages and your collection page slightly different. They might have different interpretations of it. It's a different scannable page. It's a different page altogether, essentially. So why not include it? So I know that Underdog Games / products. Again, this is going to take some time, and you have to go through your site and understand your site structure, but I'm trying to give you the rules and the guidance. And if you look at, now I want to do another one. URL contains products. Add. We're going to set up negative dynamic ad targets, and I'll show that with you in a moment. But what this is doing right here is essentially I'm understanding that my collections pages and my product pages are the only pages I'm allowing Google to say, if the website URL looks like this, scan that page, send all the traffic there. If ever people are searching for what matches on my pages. Any questions here so far? Oh, we got a question. Over here.
We have custom created collection pages. Do we add those?
Well, are your pages all specific URL? The address is /page. Yeah, so if you have not a common denominator, like if all, let's just say all of your websites all have /page, all of your web pages have /page, like your blog, your homepage, if all of those feature the /page, you're gonna have to do it individually. Neha, how many SKUs do you have? Okay, so you're in good shape. Just go to each one of your product page and then just add that as a specific URL. So what you would do is here, I'll give you an example. Okay, so here's product number 1, grab that, paste it here. Product number 2, grab that, paste it here. You're just gonna have to do that 20 times. After you're done doing it 20 times, click add. Just make sure that you have to click add, because if you don't click add, otherwise it resets and you have to do it over again. So you have to do it 20 times. It should take you maybe 5-10 minutes. I mean, I have a collection that includes several collections. So I created /page that contains those. Well, you include several collections, but when you click on a product, does it still say /page? It does. Okay, then yeah, you could do that. Now, any other pages on your website ever, blog, contact page, those all have, any of those have /page. So it's going to scan those pages too. So that's where I wouldn't use that rule, because you can't include and also exclude by rules. But I do have a possible solution. Let me get to the next part, because this might have to be like, oh, okay, that's easy enough now. So I'm just going to skip this part for right now. What I'm going to do is, since I'm going to use this for us, so I actually kind of want to run DSA. I'm just going to do one for ours. So I'm just going to grab this because I'm going to use all web pages, but I'm going to show you a quick rule. All right, so that's, I'm going to do one just as an illustration, because I need two to show you a kind of a cool ninja trick. So I'm going to do blog. I'm going to add an ad group for my blog specifically. And our blog looks like this. It's /blog. Now, here's another thing that I need to know is if I click on this button, okay, so blog isn't in there. If I wanted to add my blog, technically I have to go blog by blog and add the specific URL. If you want to do that, you're going to have to. You can. For illustration purposes, I'm just going to use this one here because I want to share with you something kind of unique. So this is my blog name, and I'm going to add specific web pages, and I'm going to say URL contains /blog. You'll see why I'm doing this here in a moment. Now let's save and continue. When you look at setting up the ad groups, what you'll notice is you can't adjust what the URL is. You can't adjust what the headline is. You can't adjust what the display is. You can only display URL. The only thing you can do is add descriptions 1 and 2. It says, should I include the full link? If you're doing page by page, not setting up a rule, but a specific page, yeah, you're going to have to include the full link. Just make sure you use the full link for the whole thing. That matters. But I'll share with you here in a moment. Yeah. Write a description that's very brandable. The brandable description is going to be about your products. So if you have a specific theme of your store, put your theme in there. The description is going to be static, but the file URL, the headline, and the display URL are going to be unique. And the headline is pulled right from your page title. So as an example, the page title here, Trekking in the National Parks, and then you're going to see the Family National Parks board game. This is going to actually turn into your headlines. It's going to scan the page and say, what is the title and what is the description of the page? And that's what they're going to build your headlines with. So this is an area where content on your site is going to be important. If your site title doesn't match the title of your product, you're going to have some issues. It can't just be like, product number 1, because Google's going to scan that and they're going to show product number 1 in the headline. That's not going to make any sense. So your site title, your page titles, think about those are going to be turned into products. Those are going to be turned into ads for your product. So content is king. DSA scans a page, doesn't look at images, doesn't look at logos. It looks at the frequent asked questions. It looks at this here. It looks at your descriptions. It looks at your titles and matches it for those users. So, you know, National Park board game or Park board game, great family board game, good. All that's going to show up here. But make sure that you're expansive on your content, enough as possible, or at least be completely honest and relevant as much as you can. Same thing with smart shopping. It's essentially the same engine. So if you had, you know, Essence is the name of a candle, then it's not going to know what Essence is. And if it says candles, and it's going to say Essence in the ad title. Well, that doesn't make sense. So make sure that you're teaching Google at the same time you're teaching your clients about, or your customers about what your products are. So description here, I'm just going to put like, you know, best. I'm going to change this later because I'm going to have a content writer make this because I'm horrible at content, as you can tell. Best Google Ads agency. And free account evaluation and action plan. Remember title case, everything needs to be title case, even the oddities. Okay, so that's, what is it saying? It doesn't like, oh, that's not that, okay. Next one, this is gonna be our blog, you know, more how Google Ads works. One-stop resource for all things. Okay, so this is me, my description for my blogs. Now, here's what's interesting. When we hit save and continue, it's going to go into a review, check the campaigns, good, we're going to publish this. And here's what you're going to notice is inside of the dynamic search ad campaign here, when you click more, you're going to see dynamic ad targets. Dynamic ad targets, when you click on this one here, it's going to share with you what ad group is going to what pages. So my all website pages is taking my normal URL. Our blog is taking, you know, I would just change that to possibly our blog here, so that the HTTPS is there. Make sure you have the HTTPS there. That just make sure that it's sending it to the right page that it resolves on. But if you're going to see my web pages, my ad groups are going to be sending it to my dynamic ad targets. But there might be saying, yes, I do want this, but I don't want another page. There's a negative dynamic ad target. So work exactly like negative keywords. So you can say a negative dynamic ad targets to say, I want all of my web pages and I want all my blog. But what I really don't want to scan is maybe like the employee spotlights, because someone might be looking for someone with the same name as us. Who knows? So let's just say I don't want to send it to our employee spotlight page. So I'm going to grab the employee spotlight page and I'm going to add that as a negative dynamic ad target to anywhere I need to. You can add it to the campaign. This way, no matter what DSA campaigns or what ad groups you run in the future, you already know that you're never going to send the traffic to the employee spotlight page. Google's going to not scan that page. It's going to scan everything else that you tell it to. And it's not going to scan what you don't want it to do. So if you needed to include some pages like my / collections, but you might have like a / collections winter sale that's still up, take it down, but make sure you add that as a dynamic ad target. So you're not sending people to the winter sale of 2019. Google, if it exists on your page, exists on your site, Google will scan it and you will pay for that traffic to that page. So just be mindful about your sitemap. You need to understand your website really, really well, where you want the pages to be scanned and sent, where you don't want the pages to be scanned and sent, and think that every single thing can be taken out of context. Majority of the time, I don't want to send traffic to a blog, especially for e-commerce. It blows out the budget and the ROAS is horrible because you're paying people to learn. You're paying Google to learn. So that's where, or you're paying Google for other people to learn. It's just a bad business investment. So make sure you're setting up your dynamic ad targets appropriately. Now here's a cool thing. Inside the ad groups for the DSA campaign, because I set up more than one ad group, my all web pages and then my blog, you get to then tell Google in the ad groups, you know what, if it's a blog, man, I really don't want to pay more than $100 for a lead that comes from my blog. But they're coming from any other site. Yeah, I'll be really competitive. So what you're doing is you're setting target CPA or target ROAS for your each individual ad groups. You can break up your ad groups later on by specific categories or by specific web pages. I don't necessarily want to start there because I don't know what's going to perform yet or what pages are going to be good. But you're going to be able to set a target CPA based on the products, based on, and this is where, and I'm so sorry, I'm horrible with names. Yeah, Michael Johnson. You said, can target ROAS be used instead? So what I would do is for your lower price products, set a higher ROAS and set those into an ad group. So if you have products from 99 cents up to $20, you might want at least 250% return on ad spend. Put those all in one ad group, set a target CPA for that ad group, scanning those pages for those products higher than maybe what you would need for other products. You might only need a 200% ROAS for your $1,000 products, but you need a 500% ROAS for your low price products. And that's why I said I have a solution for you. If you chose target CPA or target ROAS, you can adjust that by ad group in a DSA campaign here. And I'll give you, let me just see here. I have another company. If we look at their dynamic search ads and we look at the ad groups, I have target ROAS here. And this is, let me go back a little bit further because there's been some major changes to this one here. But target ROAS of 350% on shampoos. Their shampoos, they have their best selling product. It's actually their shampoo and conditioner. It's called the Leader Duo. And unfortunately, I can't break them out here, so I just don't get much traffic. But the styling, there's really nothing there. The styling is pretty horrible. So I said, hey, I need 250 on the styling. I get 186. I need 300 on the conditioners. I'm getting 162. But my shampoos, I need 350. It's getting 434. So again, not bad because I'm spending $2,300 and making $9,700 on my DSA campaign. I have 3 ad groups. All I did was just scan the pages for all my shampoos, my conditioners, and my styling. I'm assuming Google Ads Editor can handle all these setting target. Yeah. If you're good with Ads Editor, it'll do this. I love Ads Editor. A lot of people like being able to connect and post sometimes gets a little bit messed up for people. So I don't. Well, I think we have a couple of videos on it. But yeah, Google's Ad Editor can do this. Yep, absolutely. But I want to kind of show you a realistic scenario. This is my main one. I have 1,000 clicks here, and I spend the most amount of money. But I wanted to have these conditioners and styles excluded from my shampoos because I treat them differently because this is our flagship item. But I do want to have some sales because they need a 180 break-even ROAS. They have like 800% profit margin because it's only people better than drug dealers with profit margin is people in the cosmetic industry. I swear it's amazing what the kind of markup they have. But they're okay here. So again, getting really good results. I wanted to share with you that DSA is not like a flash pan for lead generation. It works really well for e-commerce. 11% conversion rates, awesome. 11% conversion rate here doesn't really give me much though. I can't really afford much in this campaign. Treat it differently. So when you have different ad groups, you set different dynamic targets and then use it to the best of your knowledge and test it. More products have better profit margin, lower ROAS, more money. More ad spend in that campaign. The lower your targets, the easier targets are, the more that campaign is going to scoop up all that ad spend. Remember, you're spending $30 a day divided by, not 2, divided by whatever is more popular. It might be 80-20. You can configure that by setting higher and lower targets. This one right here, $100 CPA and 530 here. If I told Google I need a $100 lead here and a $530 lead here, which one do you think is going to get more activity? The $530 one. This is going to be hard to get. That's okay. I'll scoop up $100 leads from my blog if I can get it, but that's not where my core business is coming from. E-commerce, yeah, I'll take the $10 sales, but only if they're 500 ROAS, which they might not even run. That's okay. Great. Save all of your money for your better products. Does that help? I think, Michael, does that help you? Cool. Awesome. Now that's DSA campaigns. Now what's interesting too is you'll have this here called landing page. Landing page will actually show you the pages that are getting the traffic. Let me actually, I'll go to this one here. Let me just do landing pages. So you can kind of see the landing pages. Now, please forgive me. We have crazy URL structures in here for UTM. Cool. At 3 clicks. We spent 21, or no, we spent 64 cents and we sold something for $59. That's a 9,000 ROAS on that page. Awesome.
Someone had a comment. You were going to tell us something about audience related to DSA.
Oh, yeah. RLSA, we're going to do that as well on this one here. Same thing that we just did in the competitive campaign. We can kind of do that again, but add RLSA to every one of your search campaigns. That's a good best practice. Again, from there, you can say RLSA audience. So just go into your audiences. Oh, let me do mine. Sorry about that. I'm still in theirs. But we're going to go into audiences in the DSA, and then we're going to add an audience to the campaign of dynamic search, set to observe, browse, and then the remarketing, website visitors, all visitors, set it to observe, click save, say I will have an advanced bid adjustment of 40%. And now anybody that's searching for a product that bent your website that is then still searching for either similar products as yours or the same product because they haven't made their decision yet, you're going to be on top when they're ready to come back. We already know that in any campaign, I only have probably 2 campaigns that don't really have a longer than 1 day conversion, or no, a shorter than 1 day conversion. Like I have 2 campaigns that usually have like 1 click to lead. But if you look at any campaign that we manage, give me 1 moment while Google speeds up. There we go. Last 7 days, 28% of all my conversions had at least 2 ad clicks. That's almost 1/3 people, more than a quarter people. So somewhere between 1 and 1.4 or 1 and 3 will take at least 2 ad clicks. And that's normal for any campaign. If I go back to say April 1st here, let me just see what the May 1st. There we go. April to May was 28. Last 14 days, 28. RLSA means that they're going to take time to come back. And it might be come back through remarketing. That's great. It might be come back through a multiple search. That's great. It might be coming back by Google and branding. That's okay. But if they are in the market, went to your website, left, still search, are you going to want that person? Yeah. That's the reason for the RLSA. Now, here's another thing that everyone is going to have to do. Everyone is going to have to add a negative keyword of their brand name in their DSA campaign. I can't stress this enough. Every DSA campaign that launches is going to be heavy branded, heavy brand. You have to add your brand as a negative keyword, at least to this campaign. Otherwise, majority of your sales are just going to come from brand. We know this, and we optimize around it by either including or excluding the brand name if the client doesn't want it. I'll share with you one that, as an example, this one is called their DSA and their brand campaigns. We purposely didn't run because it was all brand, and then we said that's okay. We have other campaigns running, but they wanted to watch this. Anyway, here, this is the last 30 days. Here's my smart shopping campaign. Spent 12.9, made 56 or 38 ROAS. Yay. My dynamic search ads, 6,500 ROAS. Holy cow. 6,500 ROAS in my dynamic search ads. You can see I'm only spending $50 a day, not 1,000, because my brand, I'm also spending $50 a day, because the dynamic search ads, because I don't have a negative keyword in there, is brand. Now it's not always. I got 7 for that. I got another 7 for that. Brand, not brand. But you'll notice this is heavily brand. This client is okay not adding the brand name. We're not spending a whole lot of money on this. In the grand scheme of things, we're only spending $50 a day. Our smart shopping is spending 1,000. So I wanted to kind of share with you a result. When you launch DSA, it is going to be heavily branded. People are going to search for brand. DSA is going to be like, wow, that brand name was found on your website. Ta-da. And they deliver your ad to them, and then people convert. And it says, wow, that was easy. People are converting really well on this keyword that was found on your website. It just so happens to be a brand name. Google doesn't know. Google doesn't care. So it just says this keyword deliver the best result. Let's keep that happening. You're going to spend money for exact traffic that you're already going to get. But remember to add a negative keyword in the search campaign or in the dynamic search ads, so that the brand campaign doesn't show a 6,500% ROAS and you think everything's awesome. You're just paying for your own traffic. Next thing, so that what we want to do is in the dynamic search ad, a negative keyword. This one you don't need a list for it. Just in the dynamic search ad, the negative keyword, you'll add that add a negative keyword or create a list. We're just gonna here. We're just gonna add that to our dynamic search ad. It's gonna be solutions 8 and then sol 8. And then you don't have to use phrase exact negative keywords. Work the best and broad. So that's how this works for DSA. Any questions here so far before we move on to a brand campaign? Oh, we got chat. Earlier today, Cosmo said the solely approach to you is different than how most people approach it. Can you share a little bit? Yeah. So normally DSA campaigns are approached to just all your website pages. They don't choose specific pages, especially for e-commerce.
Well, and they don't exclude their brand.
They don't exclude their brand. And so agencies that run these things, and again, we're saying that our approach to DSA is usually different because when we take over an account, I'm like, hey, did you know you had 3 brand campaigns? They're like, huh? I'm like, you got a brand, you got a DSA, and then your search campaign has your brand name in it, and you're getting all of your conversions are coming from your brand names. That happens most frequently. And DSA, they also said, I'm also, hey, did you know that I think we had one of our most recent evaluations, $330,000 was spent without a conversion. It was coming from DSA campaigns. It was going through blogs. It was going through like a bunch of different content that no one cared about. And we didn't want to pay for that traffic. And like, you wasted over $250,000 in the last like few years on that. And people didn't really know, oh, what's a dynamic negative ad target? Like people don't understand that. So by using DSA, a really, really powerful engine, standard operating procedure is at DSA, add your URL, go to your default all web pages, or let Google choose for you the categories like pickles, and then let it run. And over time, it'll naturally get better and better and better, and it will convert and it will work. Most of the time for brand name though. So by choosing specific pages, excluding irrelevant pages, adding in your negative key phrase of your brand, adding an RLSA, and then adding in the dynamic ad targets that you don't want to have scanned is much different than if you're looking at a DSA campaign on YouTube and say how to run, they'll show you the kind of standard, but no one's going to tell you that it's going to be heavily branded and it's going to look like it's going to be working when it's not. A lot of times they don't cover negative keywords or negative dynamic ad targets. Or they'll use Google's recommendations and categories, or they'll use your rules that are just like, hey, if your page is equal X. So hopefully it's going to be different than how majority of agencies are going to cover it. Agencies love using DSA because it is heavily branded and it looks like it wins really, really well, and they look awesome. And the poor advertiser is just like, hey, they show me a spreadsheet that said 3,000 ROAS, so there must be great. But then you dive deeper, you're like, oh, you're just paying for your own traffic. Our negative targets applied at the campaign level. So Cycle, thanks for being helping us to know. Yep. So then the negative ad targets are sort of. So you could do it at here. I'll share with you here. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. So you could add it at the campaign or ad group. If there's negative ad targets, if you want to do keyword sculpting, or not keyword sculpting, ad group sculpting, you can. It's not really going to be super effective for e-commerce. Usually it's more effective for lead generation. What I mean is targeting page A and having negative page B in ad group page A, and then targeting page B and then having negative of page B in page A, if I said that right. Basically just excluding the other one. Lead generation, that's usually an issue. You'll have something called overlap, where you'll have 2 possible pages and you'll have one that says overlap, and they'll have an overlap percentage, and then the overlap percentage is too high for them to be separated because it says, hey, you have 2 pages about Google Ads, and I'm scanning both of them and the keywords kind of match, so this one wins. This one has an overlap. So you can exclude each other's and each other's ad groups, even in the campaigns. You can get super granular and have a group of products per campaign. So you say, I need to spend the most amount of money on these 4 products. Everything else I can care less. And then you can use a dynamic search ad for 4 products in one campaign, set at $500 a day, and set your target CPAs or ROAS per product by which page. This is start a whole new other DSA campaign for everything else, but excluding your blog and that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to give you the tools that I would say that here's how to use it. Here's the functionality, here's the capabilities of them, and here's how you apply them. I don't have the perfect scenario for everyone. I wish I did. That would be awesome. But what I would say is some pointers. Start off first wide, especially if you're new to this. If you already have some conversion history and you already know that some products are going to be, you know, a little bit too less money, like 99 cents, don't include those, or stick them in a campaign that has really high goal that if they do sell, great. So again, use at your own discretion. Target CPA is easier for Google than target ROAS. Target ROAS is better than target CPA when you have conversion value because it has cart value. It knows what the return on ad spend will be. Google says, can I make a sale? Yes or no. Google, the ROAS says, can I make a sale? Yes or no. At a good sale amount, oh, that's something different. So that's why it's a little harder for Google to do it. Starting off with target CPA is usually better. Do you typically see categories, collections on Shopify and product pages perform similarly? Would you favor one? I don't necessarily like the categories. That's where I usually find overlap is in categories. That's why my Evolve, the conditioners, doesn't run, is because it overlaps too much, and that's category. So I was okay with it just because it's not a focus. Our flagship products are doing really, really well, and it's giving me a really good result, so I'm okay with it. But categories is when you have the overlap, because categories essentially kind of use the keywords and say, well, these are keywords that can match for 3 pages. I like granularity if I can. I like to keep it separated by specific page, and then looking at my landing pages and saying what page is specifically working. And that's how I identify what, if I'm targeting 10 pages, I go to landing pages, I see all 10 pages there, and I can see what goes on. And then I can see the search terms for all those 10 pages. So categories are good. Just know that if your website structure has a lot of similar items, Google may not know, there's no canonical tag to say this page versus that page for this keyword. It's going to possibly flip-flop. So being very specific and granular stops that from happening. Doesn't mean you can't group them up later and then just crank up ad spend. You might get there for sure. But I like starting with super granularity because I'm like, that web page just doesn't work. The land page is just terrible. That product is just not selling. I can just dynamic ad target that page right out of there.
Got a question from Michelle on ad grants.
Yeah.
With ad grants, I can do general search, competitor, DSA, and brand campaigns, correct?
Correct.
So at $333 a day, how would you split that up?
DSA and search to be at least 80% of that budget. And then brand later on. I wouldn't go after necessarily competitors just yet. You're going to have a click-through rate that is above 2%, I believe.
You can't exceed a CPC of $2, which really limits the inventory.
Yeah, then that's what it was. Your CPC can't exceed $2, and your your CTR can't be below 3 or 5, if I remember correctly.
5. I'll Google it.
Yeah. So you're in a very closed ecosystem where it's like you have to have a good performance. For grants, what I like is using maximized conversions the most often, because you don't care what that conversion costs, but maximized conversions. I don't know why this works. Google says, hey, you can't go over $2 a click, but if you turn on maximized conversions, Google will go like 4, 5, and 6. So you can't set your bid higher than 2, but if you use maximized conversions, Google will do it for you. With that maximized conversions, Google will drive up that bid price, meaning your click-through rate will be higher. Now, a competitor campaigns is scary because if someone is looking for a competitor and they see you and they're like, well, that's not you, your click-through rate's going to be low, and that's going to put you into hot water with the grant. Your grant eligibility will start to expire. It says, hey, you haven't been over a 2% click-through rate in 90 days. You're no longer allowed grants. So you have to be careful not falling into those thresholds. Oh, Cosmo, did you find it?
Yeah, I'm not seeing the $2 CPC threshold any longer. I wonder if they removed that. It is 5%, but the $2 isn't shown anywhere in their documentation, at least not on this article that I found.
They might have changed it.
I know for a fact that was there though, because remember when we tried to run for the NGO in DC.
Yeah, we tried to run for the cookie company. It was that there each time there. So maybe the $2 CPC is no longer an issue. That would be nice.
Context for you, Michelle, and this isn't meant to discourage you. It's meant to help arm you with the information. We bat away Google Grant clients for this reason. There's too many caveats and exceptions. It just makes them difficult to run. So you're going to constantly be kind of coming up against these really weird rules that Google creates, and it's just something you'll have to contend with. But it's $10,000 in free money, so there's no reason not to use it.
And that's the problem. If someone said, here's 10 grand, give me this, we'll take them on as a client if we know we can. But if someone off the street that didn't have grants said, here's 10 grand, I need a 5% click the rate and it can't go over $2 a click, I'd be like, I'm not gonna work with that. I'm sorry, that's hard. So that's the problem, is because Google was putting too many restrictions on there. It's like, here's $10,000, but what they wanted you to do is spend that $10,000 on super relevant keywords. And so it became difficult because it's like, well, I can't go after exploratory traffic because those don't usually have 5% or higher click-through rates. Industry average click-through rates 0.5% to 2%. So if you're going after new type of traffic, it's like, well, then pay for your own. Well, then what good is a grant? Well, if you want to show up for your brand name, that's really great. Okay. Or if you want to look at more exploratory, like, how to help end child hunger. Those have great click-through rates because those people just search everywhere, and grants are like, okay, perfect. You can pay for that. But for trying to run like a, not really, a for-profit, it stops like the competitive ecosystem where it's like, I will pay because I will benefit. That's where Google Ads grants really got a little bit hard. They put ridiculous restrictions that goes against your best practice kind of mindset. And so that's where
the low dollar inventory is all. Google's got a bunch of inventory that they can give away. Can I show you something so stupid, dude? Check this out.
Yeah.
So you have to have valid conversion tracking, which I think is fair. If you're going to spend our money, you have to show us where it's going. Here's the best part. Ready? Import your conversions from Google Analytics, recommended, or add a new conversion directly in Google Ads. It's so flawed. Like, why would they?
Recommended? Probably because it's easier.
That must be what it is. They just think, oh, it's a bunch of nonprofits, and this is going to be easier for them.
Must have 2 site links. Yeah.
Oh well.
I'm giving you all the points to where we start at as an agency, not where we end up at, because you're not going to know where we're going to end up at. So I'm giving you the right tools to start on. If you haven't run DSA, this is where I always recommend starting, because you're going to find, oh, wow, that works and this one does not, because your assumption was wrong. When you assume it's expensive, and if you're wrong, that's a costly expensive. That's an expensive mistake, essentially. So starting with like all of your web pages, because you're not going to know what of your 600 SKUs, which one's going to perform the best. Same reason why you start with all of them in smart shopping. Same kind of mindset.